be agreed to. The Honourable Steve Chatwood.
Mr Speaker, I rise to speak on the draft budget of the Officers of Parliament, and this is a very important committee of Parliament, as the Leader of the House pointed out, that all parties act as the executive on this committee and undertake the scrutiny of some very important votes, vote audit, the Commissioner for the Environment and also the Office of the Ombudsman. And it is a committee that I don't think many people know about in terms of the way of parliamentary function, but I've found it a very important committee for the enactment of these different votes. As the Leader said, the Officers of Parliament here look at vote audit, and they've asked for another $500,000 here, and this will be still subject to approval. But the increase in this vote was because this office is revenue dependent. Their costs are fully funded back and have been since 2007. They've incurred some increased additional costs because they audited long-term council community plans, and that's been a very important role they've finished. But they've also asked for this extra $500,000 because pressure on their capital requirements. They've got an extra 90 staff because of the audit functions that we put on this vote, and over 6 years that has been quite an increase in work. And they also flagged to us that they're looking for alternative premises, and that will be something in the future that we'll look to for this vote. They are a department that is managing, well, they're not really a department, the officers of the Auditor General. They are managing on some quite outdated systems, we heard, as Officers of Parliament, an old documentary management system that's been going for 8 years and a 10-year management system which is also needing upgrading. So we listened to all of these votes that were put to us very convincingly. We were aware of the very financially constrained times in this difficult last year, and going forward are aware of some pressures here. The Commissioner for the Environment, a very small vote, very small department, small number of staff, and a vote of only 2.7 million. And they assured us that they're going through the same line-by-line value for money approach that we thought was very important. They found lots of efficiencies, and they do carry out their functions that they mentioned. They've actually outsourced their library services. They've really felt the squeeze, but they've gone to open plan system in their offices, and that was impressive. But they still have a very important role here for measuring the health of our environment and reporting it back to us in Parliament. They've also had to report on this new Environment Protection Authority, and I think that's going to be something that we'll monitor in future as Officers of Parliament. They've looked at a strategic approach to biofuel production, and they've done a lot of work, and we commend them for their work, for the small number of staff and managing to meet those requirements. The last vote that we looked at was the Office for the Ombudsman, and this was an interesting office under considerable pressure. They actually talked about 1,928 complaints that haven't yet been assigned. Now, this is a growing sign of pressure on the Office for the Ombudsman. It's a 22% increase in their demand, and they feel that they need to be responding to this. I think it was very interesting that Sir Guy Powers, when he recommended the setting up of the Office of the Ombudsman, said Parliament's man put there for the protection of the individual, and if you protect the individual, you protect the society, and the Office of the Ombudsman takes that role very seriously. They were concerned about their unassigned allocated cases. They did ask for one more investigating officer, and that was something that they really do want to meet. And I think it was very interesting to us too, knowing that they are now reporting on the UN Declaration of persons with a disability, and that was an additional compliance cost that they had to meet. We took that into account in the draft budget that we put before the Minister of Finance in the House today. I was proud about the Convention on the Rights of the Persons with Disabilities that was signed in 2008 by the previous Labor government. But as a committee, we worked in a consensual way under your leadership as the Speaker, and it's an enjoyable committee. We take the role very seriously. I believe that all of us agreed that these budget pressures that all of these votes are under need to be taken seriously, and I believe we responded seriously to their requests.
Dr. Kennedy Graham.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to address this motion.